Hello, I am the cartoonist M. Rashid. Veterans preference. Veterans preference is when people who served in the armed forces are entitled to preference over others in hiring for virtually all federal government jobs. In function, this is like how being a protected class would function in a narrow way. As a protected class entitlement benefit. They get to be put to the front of the line. Other people do not get to seize what is positioned for them to have dibs up front for. You're protecting them in their quality of life for that. So the Black American former slave class deserves protected class status. It is through our blood, sweat, and tears that the great wealth of the West was built. From slavery and then after slavery. I mentioned before how spoiled American businesses became after slavery. Slavery itself, you didn't have to pay workers. The highest cost of any business, they didn't have to pay. And that money just grew. So after that, nobody wanted to pay workers. They over time, they were paying less and less and less, and always trying to come up with some reason why they needed to cut salaries, because they never made money that fast before than the slavery itself. After slavery, they did everything they could to try to capture that type of revenue, which included the convict leasing and things like that, other just blatant theft, locking Black Americans out of the markets altogether, so that taking their land, doing these like kind of sneaky racketeering grift moves against the people, so that instead of them being able to also accrue wealth over generations to pass down, the bulk of their money was going towards the white racist aristocracy, so that inheritance wealth performs better than labor, because they took all the manufacturing jobs away. And now we don't have like a building manufacturing economy anymore. Now our economy is made out of like trying to figure out ways to chip away at the few wealth assets that people have, particularly the Black American baby boomers, who have, that's where all our ethnic groups' wealth is concentrated at, in illiquid baby boomer assets and pensions. So we're in a economy where the wealthiest, and not coincidentally most predatory companies, are continuously trying to figure out how to shuffle that wealth into their coffers. So it's been, a long 400 years for my people. We're the only people here who didn't come here on purpose. Everyone else are immigrant tide. Everyone else are those who came here for a better opportunity, for a better life. And all my efforts to share in that higher quality of life as a group have been sabotaged, because I'm the one they all used as ATMs for their better life. From the slave period to now, I'm the one that they've been abusing and exploiting and plundering so that they can have better lives. So this creates a antagonistic, contentious relationship between the American descendants of slavery and the immigrant class, which is literally everybody else. So when our black actors, our black American actors, complain that these immigrants, these black immigrants, are coming over and getting these like preferential treatment for these great opportunities and roles, and often in movies that are playing black American heroes over our already established award-winning actors, like these people coming over and forming these like groups, because they're, you know, the immigrant class are made up of several different smaller, more focused flag waving groups, but they come together with no issue against me. When I'm not in the picture, they fight like cats and dogs. When I'm around, they form as a well-oiled machine. This stands out because it's not just the white racist aristocracy that does it. You know, they can't stand each other. They rip each other apart if I'm not around. Different white groups, different ethnic groups and class groups among whites cannot stand each other under normal circumstances. And when I'm not around, they battle hard. When I'm around, they get back inward instantly. When the black immigrants across the board do the same thing, left to their own devices, they, you know, talk a lot of trash against each other and bring all their ethnic beefs and stuff with them, and then the comments be like we're ripping into each other. And when I show up, they against me. You can see this old partnership between that one and that one against me has been going on for a while. That's how I got in this country, because of that partnership. They think the same, they move the same. And with no issue, the black immigrant easily partners with the white racist aristocracy. No issues. Say otherwise. Why do they say otherwise? They'll say otherwise because they're mimicking my civil rights talk in order to like push me out. They show up without my baggage. So if they can successfully pretend to be me and then on camera say, we don't need reparations, we are fine, we're already wealthy. The Trump's comment about the shitholes was accurate, because the United States didn't have a policy of just letting any old people come over, especially once the Civil Rights and Voting Rights Acts of the 60s were put into law. The counter to that was to let all these black immigrants come over so that they could fill that void with affirmative action. Put them in those roles, and now you can pretend that you're helping me. I'm still locked out, but now the public face of blackness is this alien who's more than happy to pretend to be me and speak for me on camera and partner with that one saying all the same disparaging stuff about me. So my relationship is my freedom struggle is an uphill battle. I was told, me and my parents, we're told that the collective blackness, the flat blackness concept of Pan-Africanism is the way to our freedom. It turned out that was a lie. My strength is in my own ethnic group, uh, politically enfranchising and battling and working the system as a unified group. That's my strength. So Pan-Africanism, while I'm still in my weakened state, will hurt me because these other groups are already like together. So if I'm not together and they're insisting that I come join all of them, the only thing that would do is force me in a support class to them already strong groups, to those already strengthened and together groups. If I'm not together, if I'm scattered, and I'm joining a collective group full of strong, independent that are working together, they're just gonna grab me and put me where they want to put me because I'm not, Pan-Africanism and that entire concept has only ever hurt me. It has never helped me. So when these Black European actors show up, and we can cover other fields and stuff because it functions the same. But we'll talk about the actors because the ADOS activists have been in full-blown wars with these with the Black immigrants on Twitter. Been wars going back and forth with them. They're extremely disrespectful. They use the exact same gaslighting techniques and stuff that the whites do. They're just less sophisticated with it. They're less sophisticated, less polished at it, and a lot more sloppy. It's the difference between watching how Obama moved versus how Kamala moves. Kamala's trying to use the same model sheet that Obama used, but she's clearly much less sophisticated and very sloppy at it than he was. He had enough to bamboozle us because we had all these great expectations for the first Black president, Inc. People like our ADOS two co-founders, they were not as bamboozled. They recognized where the problem lie, but without that type of clarity of like deep data driven insights into the scholarship so you can see what's real. The rest of us were like, finally we have a Black president. Now everything is going to be great. Meanwhile, all he was doing was like building up the whites, building up his immigrant type groups. That's where his heart was, while patronizing at me and talking trash about me the whole time. Especially once that cop accosted Skip Gates at his own house, and Obama said it was stupid, and then his white approval numbers dipped and never recovered after that. After that, Obama even stopped pretending in public to be on my side. He was much more patronizing and stuff against us after that. You saw where his loyalties lie in there. No more, like, he couldn't even like pretend with that mask anymore. He couldn't even pretend that way. He had to like lean that other way. So, and it was our expectations and stuff that created a veil over us that forgave his sloppiness. But now on the other side of that, when he didn't give us anything but the Uber gig economy, pretending it was actual employment, we're just in a worse position now than we were when he showed up. Now when we see Kamala and her significantly less charismatic, significantly sloppier presentation while she's trying to do the same thing he was doing, then it's like, ugh, no, I can't. That's how whites and the black immigrants look. One is significantly sloppier in how they trying to do the same thing, talking trash to us and saying all the exact same stuff against us that the most racist whites do, while trying to scold us that we're not trying to be Pan-African anymore. I already saw that it's a grift scheme. There's no need to pick that back up. And for my point, why would we have ever picked it up? The entire concept of skin color based identity group was created by whites for whites. The opposite of that isn't all blacks coming together, because it was stupid to begin with. It was only working for them because they already grabbed at super money. And it's easy to come together once you see this giant pile of super money. They were like, yeah, bet. So I'm on the other side of that, where all the super money is over there. And you're saying, come together and fight them for their super money. No, because it was dumb anyway. They invented it. So I'm not going to come together over a psychopathic scheme that was invented by the greediest person on earth. No. The opposite of the white racism identity isn't a black one. The opposite is splitting it up, strictly enforcing antitrust, and celebrating us in our differences. That's best. Celebrate us in our differences. Be strong in our differences, and then in our strength, come together for a larger mutual goals for us all. But you can't do that. We're all scattered. That's not how that works. It's ridiculous. It's okay to be different. And it's okay to be strong in our differences and celebrate it for it. In the Quran, God said He made us different so that we could learn from each other. It's a blessing to be this. So the concept of colorblindness is the opposite of what God says. And it's demonic. The entire point of colorblindness is to allow the people who've already hoarded all that was good just for themselves, and now magically you don't see color because you don't want to deal with the justice. Because if you see color, you'll be forced to say, these people were done wrong, it must be addressed. So I don't want to see color because I like being evil. That's what colorblindness means. There's a very specific type of people in social media who bring that up and try to project it as a virtue. There's nothing virtuous about you. So I'm in this battle with this humongous group, the immigrant class, composed of everybody against me. They resent the idea that I finally can be made whole economically. They resent the idea that the former slave class finally comes into their own. They resent it. And they resent it because they spent the last few centuries exploiting me so they can be great. And they don't want that spigot to be turned off. That's why I deal with what I deal with. And the whites are they don't like being on the edge of, civil rights could happen anymore. We'll be forced to deal with it. So their counter is, we're going to let these black immigrants come over. And they're going to use their mimicry skills to pretend to be them. And then we'll just pretend that this is the black American. And then when they say on the mic, we don't need reparations, and the whites will be like, great, thanks. That's what they all want. So he'll have the benefit of pretending to be the ethnic group who the entire world admires and is influenced by the culture that the Black Americans created. These terrible conditions we went through in America, we created this wonderful culture that everybody admires and covets and appropriates. When the entire world expresses cool, they do it from the Black Americans' expression of cool. Even when they can't stand us, when they do cool, they do it from the Black American vernacular way. The other day, I teased some concepts about mass media and these Jewish writers like doing the Black voice and, and all the programming and stuff. But it's coming from a very specific place. Naturally, it's not 100%. Black Americans still have our own thing, but the fact that they're doing that and packaging it and projecting it and making all this money for themselves is a thing, because that's who we are. Who's doing that to any other Black group? Literally no one. Fuck about y'all. But you're coming over here to try to pretend to be me and your greed. I have my character in the cartoon saying, you will never replace us. You can play your games and try and stuff. You're continuously taking L's. You saw what happened to them at the Harvard Kennedy School thing, where they partnered with Harvard to do this hit piece trying to get rid of the ADOS movement. And their sloppy, grifting, demonic, lying nonsense blew up in their face. So your truth stands out clear from error. And your foolishness didn't work out. So you can try to replace us using lies and deceit and evil, and it will not work. This is a topic that I come to, dip, and move off, because I prefer to deal with that other one. Who's the root cause of all of this stuff. So when he, dealing with his support class, my diabolical alien skin folk who come over look like me and just doing trash, dealing with them is an irritant to me. And I get upset about it for different reasons than I get upset about the former slaveholder. That's a different type of upset. This upset, this is the one that sold me to those trading companies. And the fact that after all this time, you haven't changed. If anything, you've doubled down on it, and you're worse than you were when you sold me into slavery. So when you talk, when in response to me trying to politically unify and be where I need to be as a human being, you partner with white supremacy and try to tear it down. And when I push back, you call me xenophobic. This is a special kind of evil. Special kind of evil. So combined with that one's white supremacy and his support class looks a certain way. You can't fight your way out of this. You can't talk your way out of this, because your talk is weak. watching the ADOS activists go back and forth with you on Twitter is, I have to pull back on it. There's a level of anger that builds just watching those dialogues. Occasionally I'll tweet something in there, but I would rather deal straight with the source because I can maintain my composure easier dealing with the fiend himself than I can with my diabolical skinfolk. You are a trip. And I am greatly offended watching you play these roles of my heroes. I will never watch that trash. And if I could take back watching Black Panther, I would. Never again. I'm not watching any of that trash. I'm offended watching that wench play Harriet Tubman. I'm offended watching that piece of crap play Fred. Never again. I will never support your trash. Shame on you. Shame on you. I'm going to end this now before I start going somewhere else. Peace.